Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to a long overdue update on FPL Don't Panic. Anyone that's been following along know I have been traveling. I have literally just arrived back in New Zealand. The jet lag is strong in this one. As we're going into a pretty important game week, I just wanted to do a very, very quick update on how things have gone over the last few weeks since I was last on. I sort of very, very quickly go through. There's no point going through it in great detail now. It's gone well past, but just to sort of let you know how the previous game weeks went, and then a bit more of a review of how last week went, and then what we're doing this week. So, without further ado, let's get into it from sunny New Zealand. All right, let's talk about where we left off. It was game week 5, I think, was the last update, and at that point things were going exceedingly well. If you watched the last video, yeah, just finished just under the 70. So just to remind of my objectives this season is to try and hit an average of 70 points per week, and aiming for a top 100,000 finish. 70 points per week should comfortably give me that. I mean, it's 70 points. As I've said in the past, has on occasion actually won the whole thing, and I don't expect to do that unless it's an absolute miracle, especially the way things have gone the last few weeks, which we'll get to shortly. But yeah, so up at game week 5, we were doing very, very nicely. Yeah, we had to finish with a nice 68 pointer, and the team was looking steady. Went into game week 6, and let me just double check as a reminder. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, so we brought Highland in just on the wild card just a little while before, just because we were getting ready for what should have been a run of absolutely superb fixtures. The wheels fell off. Game week 6, 42 points. I think I had projected that I was going to do a comfortable 60 points or so without captaincy. 42 points. So many things went wrong. I mean, Liverpool should have had a clean sheet, didn't keep one. City didn't. Arsenal, I think had a couple of banker clean sheets for them coming up. No, nothing. Yeah, it was a disaster class. My one success was bringing in Mbeumo, who did well for me, and Havertz, who also managed to grab a goal. But the Haaland captaincy was a complete failure. But if Hal had pulled in anything like he should have done, I would have been expected to do in what was a pretty tasty home fixture. Would have certainly been close to 70. 42 points. Not going to go too much into it, but the failures there, Haaland captaincy, and particularly the defences, and particularly Arsenal defence, where I thought we'd have a banker clean sheet there. Absolute shocker. We moved into game week 7. Well, things couldn't possibly get any worse, and they didn't, but only not by much. 49 points. Again, same story. No Arsenal clean sheet on what would have been a banker home fixture for them, one would have thought. As I'm looking through these notes as well, Haaland obviously another blank, and again, what should have been, who did they have that day? Had the captaincy armband on him. Yeah, Fulham. Yeah, again, so it's easy to see where it was falling down. Other players were letting down as well. You know, there was nothing from Semenyo, Diaz, 1 point. Aston Villa Rodgers, just a 3-pointer. Henderson with his usual no clean sheet. Although the note on Henderson, his numbers have come up dramatically when I go through where we are at the moment over the last 5 game weeks and how people have actually been performing. But yeah, so things couldn't possibly get any worse, could they? Well, yes, they could. 28 points in the following game week. Again, it was just where'd you go? Arsenal. Who did Arsenal have? Okay, fair enough. Okay, that was Arsenal, Liverpool. Fair enough. Couldn't expect too much there, but no clean sheet from City. Nothing from Alexander Arnold, Johnson, Rodgers. I think John Rodgers was my only return that week. I had been bringing in some transfers to try and get some of these averages back up. And we'll get to where my team is sitting currently. So anyways, like at this point, as I recall, I'm going back now a couple of weeks, some surgery was needed. And I know this, I have this philosophy of taking no hits. but there were too many players in the team falling off their averages. So I took some relatively drastic action, and I believe, yeah, I took a hit. I took a hit, and I actually brought in Wizard, who would have been probably the hit there, and who was the other one? And Gvardiol. So I did one free transfer. I took a hit one. Hits very nearly work, but there's a calculated risk based on how the team was falling away. Some of the players' averages were just really falling off, and I needed to get it back on track. I don't like taking hits. It was almost an unwritten rule, unless I could justify it to myself. But I justified this one to myself. Well, take the hit now, because not only are these players really, really good assets for this particular game week that was coming up, but they were also going to be very, very good assets with fixtures that were coming up. So I felt it would be a good time to get ahead of the curve. So I brought in Gvardiol, and yep, lovely, 9 points. Brought in Wizard for the hit. I'd consider him the hit. I was going to bring in Gvardiol anyways, but I brought in Wizard for the hit, and he came in with a 10-pointer. You'll know that I had Wizard and Mbeumo in my team right at the beginning of the season, and I've stated that I just love that pair on the pitch together, particularly in home matches. They're deadly. They're absolutely deadly. And between them, because Mbeumo came up with a 15-pointer, between the two of them, that was like 25 points, which was fantastic. The disaster that week is I did triple captain Haaland. It's a disaster. You take your chances, and he only came in with the one return against Southampton. Scored in the first 5 or 6 minutes, one return, and 18 points of a triple captaincy on Haaland at home to Southampton. Very disappointing. On the plus side, though, I did come in with 81 points. So even taking the Haaland, the extra points from the triple captaining of Haaland, which would be 6 points, and then taking out the hit, I still ended up on over a bit of 71 points, I think, quick maths, 71 points, even taking out the hit. And if I hadn't triple captained it just on a normal captaincy, I still actually ended up on 70 points. So I feel like I did steady the ship. A little bit. However, I still had quite a few players falling off their averages. So let's talk about where the team is as it stands, where I am in relation to my targets. So yeah, with those 3 or 4 games in a row, fallen way off the average. So I'm on 540 points at the moment. That is actually down to now to an average of just over 60 points per game. So I'm way off the 70-point average. I mean, fundamentally what that means is I need a couple of really big game weeks, or I need to now be averaging 71 points per week going forward. Yeah, we'll see how we track with that. But that is the new objective, to try and get back on track to the 70 points per week average. One of my other stated objections was in the first 10 game weeks to be inside the top 1 million, because then that gives me 28 games. We've had a solid platform. We've got plenty of data to work with going forward. Now, not too far outside of that. I'm at 1.250 at the moment, and we're obviously moving into game week 10. I don't think unless I have a fantastic result this week, I can't see myself getting inside the top 1 million. But I'm not overly unhappy with where that's at. I'll tell you why. It's really, really tight this year. I'm literally just a few points outside the top 1 million as it stands. I'm only about 40 points, I think, or so outside the top 100,000, which at this stage of the season is nothing. Indeed, as I say, if you look at some of my previous videos, and I talk about the actual leader of FPL, started out, the leader's average was somewhere in about 120 points after the first few game weeks. And as I kept stating, that is going to progressively come down. And by about game week 15, I expect that to be in and around the 70-point mark. So that is actually currently come right the way down to 77 points now. So the leader's average, he's averaging 77 points at the moment. So I'm still obviously well away from that. But I do expect that to still come down some more. And I do expect to hopefully over the coming weeks, hopefully close that gap more. I don't, as I said, I don't actually expect to win the thing. That would be a miracle of miracles. But I do use that as a bit of a benchmark. Am I closing in on that leader's average, and how close am I to whoever's winning it? Because that obviously makes more sense of my own average and how well I'm actually doing. So let's talk about game week 10. So one of the things, as I say, which last year, which was largely an experimental season for me, and I played a lot and I took a huge amount of hits. I mean, by game week 10, I think I'd have taken about 200 points in hits and whatever. I have taken a couple of hits this year. And so, spoiler alert, as I go into this team, I am actually taking 2 hits this week. I need to get the team back on track because I had a good game week last week, which helped at least steady the ship. I thought that I would use the balance above the 70 that I got to actually take a couple of hits to move into what I'll call phase 2 of my plan. Phase 2 of the plan is, if you refer back to the very, very original video, is trying to build up a fairly good squad value to enable me to hit on as many premiums as possible. Now, I'd originally intended to do that part of the plan by game week 15. But as I felt things sliding, I thought, hang on, I actually need to do that now. I would have liked about another million in the bank, just over about 102 million and a half, something like that. And I've been playing with this and said, where can I do this and bring in some extra premiums with a couple of hits? So here's the team as it stands and how this team would have stacked up over the last 5 game weeks if I'd been able to afford it. Or indeed, actually, I probably could have afforded it, but we didn't. We only know what we know now with the data. But this team would actually go fairly well, and I'm hoping it will go fairly well over the next few game weeks. So still looking to bring in 1 or 2 more players over the next few weeks. But as we stand at the moment, let's kick off. I've kept Henderson in goal for now. Weirdly, his averages have kicked up. Now it's a 4.5 million keeper. I don't expect miracles. But in the last 5 games, he has actually kept 2 clean sheets. He's had some save points. He's actually averaging 4.5 points per match as his average. So he's had a 9, a 1, a 3, 3, and an 8. It's not bad. And at least he's got a couple of reasonable returns in there. So certainly wasn't prepared to take a hit for him. He may change when I do wild card at some point in the future, but I'm not going to waste a transfer on him. And the thing with keepers is, has it worth it? I think he's only about 9 points now off the person. I think it's Anana or whoever's number 1 in the keepers at the moment. So he's only averaging 1 point less per week than the leading keeper. So rather save the money. I need that $500,000 can be better used elsewhere. And if he gets a little bit of a run going, because remember last year, last 7, 8, 9 games of last season, Palace were on fire. So if he can get a little run, picking up a clean sheet here and there, a few save points, quite happy with that. He was on the chopping block, but he certainly redeemed himself. So he's staying for now. Gavardiol has been, as I mentioned, has been one of my transfers in recent weeks. He's got a nice average going. It's not a golden rule because there's so many things that have to be considered when choosing a player. But Gavardiol's in, and one of the things I like to see as a player with 3 returns. Ideally over the previous 5 game weeks that they've played, but as a minimum 2. And I also take fixtures into consideration if there's sort of a choice between a number of players. So Gavardiol's in 1-9, 1-10-9. He's starting to get some goals, which was like the attacking Gavardiol that we saw the back end of last season. And maybe City might start to keep some clean sheets. So he's going to be a keeper for a wee while. He is yellow flagged at the moment, so this is one of my concerns going into this game week. Listen to the press conferences. It looks as though he should be okay. City squad is decimated with injuries at the moment. So I think if he's 90% fit, he probably should be starting. There is a risk there, though. There's no question about that. But I've got some cover, not much, a little bit of cover on the bench. So we'll start him, and then if he doesn't play, we've got some bench cover to come in. The other one I've got is Gabriel. So his numbers have really fallen off. 7-1-2-1-1. Yeah, it's not the defensive Arsenal of last year with the multiple clean sheets. We will keep him, I think, just for a little bit. Arsenal's fixtures have a fixture turn, which is one of the key reasons for having him back in the team. So hopefully with the fixture turn coming in game week, I think after the international break, hopefully they've got some of their injury issues sorted out, and we can actually see Arsenal getting back to keeping some clean sheets. So my other defender at the moment, as well as Lewis, Man City, he is definitely, I think, going to be a rotation risk in the future, but happy enough to keep him in there for now. And his numbers are not spectacular, but I bought him for 4.5. I think he's up to a 4.7, 4.8. Even Pep Guardiola said he can't drop to the moment because the squad's so bare, and he's playing well, but just not getting the attacking returns I was hoping for. And obviously City haven't been keeping the clean sheets one would have ever expected from them. What's he on? A 1-2-4-2-6. Based on that, I should be getting rid of him. He may go. I may need some dollars there. I wouldn't mind bringing in a Liverpool defensive asset, which I haven't got at the moment. It probably will be Konate, but I am sort of working out a plan because I do want to bring in one more premium. And as I say, Trent is gone at the moment. I needed him, but I have worked out a way to get back to Trent. But I just have to work out, do I want bench depth or squad quality? Haven't made a decision on that. I think the next game week or two will probably decide that for me. But Liverpool do have a nice fixture turn as well in a game week or two. And I do believe that Trent will be the top scoring defender in the FPL by the end of the season. And he will at some point get on a purple patch where he will be getting it, where the assist that did, she should be 20, 30 more points ahead of me. He's had hit the post. He's had sitters that he set up for people. He should have had at least 3 or 4 assists. So I would like to get back to Trent, but if I don't, Lewis may well turn into Konate. We'll see how we go. I've got Johnson in at the moment from Spurs. I have been thinking about, I do have a way to turn that into Son, but that takes away maybe from some other things. And when I go through my midfield, you'll see where I'm going up. My midfield is stacked now. If I turn that into a Son, how much do I trust Son? He's having a few little injury niggles at the moment, but I do want his piece that Spurs attack. So for the moment, it's Johnson. He's not done great the last couple of game weeks, but I think they miss Son in that team when he's not there. And Son, I believe, is back. So we'll see how Johnson goes the next game week or two. But he's definitely a goal threat. He should have had probably a few returns for me, but they haven't come. His last 5 game weeks, 7-11, 7-2-1. So he has had 3 returns in 5, but he has blanked the last 2 game weeks. So with Aston Villa at home, a bit of a high line from Villa. I think that may suit Spurs if Villa do play like that. Hopefully we can get something out of Johnson this week. Salah is in. He's this week's captain. And this was the thing. I moved into the Haaland draft from Salah. Well, that was a mistake because while Salah was banging and Haaland was blanking, 6, 10, 3, 12, 10. So Salah's back. Get that back. Salah is back. Fantastic averages. Currently got the captain's armband on him for this week. See how we go. Palmer, nothing to say about Palmer. He's just a magnificent footballer. He's 8, 25, 6, 2, 10, 3 and 5. Fixture proof in terms of that he can return against anyone. And I think he's going to just stay in my team and also become a big captain option. And Bremo's just been magnificent for me. 8, 9, 8, 2, 15. So that's 4 returns in 5. Fulham away. Tricky enough fixture, but I'm hopefully could get something there. And Saka is also in my team now. I brought him. I actually got him at a reasonable price because his price dropped with the injury, and then he obviously came back and scored, and everyone has sold him. So I thought too good an opportunity to miss. And as I say, I was looking, and that's one of the reasons I did take the hit. I thought I'll take it now. Let's take the hit now, because what I'm trying to do here as well, I think it's worth noting, I do think this team is almost going to become a template with a few tweaks here and there over the coming weeks. I think we're going to find that more and more managers are moving to this sort of stacked midfield of premiums. Could be wrong on that. Let's see how we go. So I'm just trying. One of the reasons I thought I'll take the hit this week, and you'll see by the numbers, I'm hopeful that we might be able to pay for the hit, but with what we hopefully will get over 70. We'll see. There's no guarantees in football, obviously, as I found out with the Arsenal clean sheet clean sheet avoidance, and the Haaland blanks. There's nothing as definite. But with Saka's numbers, 7, 4, 3, 16, 9. So that's three full returns in 5, and a couple of bonus points here and there in the other fixtures. He's looking brilliant. He did have that niggle of an injury, but he came back flying last week. He just looked fantastic. That goal against Liverpool was just Saka at his best. So he's just a steady Eddie. Saka doesn't haul often, but he's just a constant 6, 7, 8 point, and then every now and again that the 15-pointer will come in. So let's see how we go with that. But I do like that midfield. Then up front, it is all change. It's Wizard and Cunha. Wizard, already spoken about him. So these are his last 5 games that he's played, because he was out injured. I took the hit. I brought him in. He did fantastic for me last week, and trying to get ahead of the curve on him, because I think a lot of people are going to be jumping on Wizard. He's a lovely footballer. He links up so with him and Mbemba. 11, 2, 8, 7, 10. For what's it cost him? It's about 6 million or something. Should take that every day of the week. Fixtures are still good for Brentford. 1 or 2 tricky ones in there, but on average, their fixtures are pretty good, right up to about game week 18. And Cunha, all right. So this is the interesting one. So last 5 game weeks, 8, 2, 9, 2, 9. A lot of people are going to be buying this lad. I know Wolves are right there down near the bottom, if not on the bottom. But they had a lot of tough matches. Cunha is a lovely footballer. And the thing I like about Cunha is he doesn't just get goals; he gets assists as well. You get a lot of Haaland will get loads of goals, but very rarely get an assist. Similarly, Watkins last year had been a bit of an outlier season for him. But I'm pretty happy with that as a front two, just going forward for the next few weeks. And what's actually added to that now, I had intended to use João Pedro, who I've got on my bench, as a make weight, and just strip that down to a 4.5 million forward, to use that to potentially upgrade Lewis to Konate. And I've actually still have got 1.9 in the bank, so potentially get to Trent. But I'm really, the more I look at this team, I'm actually very, very, very happy with it. Because João Pedro has just been declared fit. I don't expect him to play today, but Brighton have got some excellent fixtures coming up. I think they've got a lovely fixture turn around 11 or 12. So I've got 3 cheap forwards there, let's be honest, but 2 of them very much in form. And then João Pedro, who is an absolutely lovely footballer, if he can stay injury-free, and he's on penalties, that could create a really nice rotation on those front 3 for me. Or indeed to rotate with the midfielder as well. So sometimes switching from a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3, just depending on the fixtures. So yeah, I'm just quite liking that bench at the moment. So the only transfer, I've got 1.7 in the bank, 1.9. Thinking I might leave that squad as it is, certainly till the international break, with one possible change, and one player that I have really wanted to bring in. I really wish I had taken the extra hit. Is H. Nori at Wolves, who is effectively like playing with an additional striker, and he's like, what is he, 4.6 now? He was 4.4, and I was going to buy him and take the hit when he was at 4.4. I thought, oh no, I don't want to do too many hits. And of course, he's banged in a goal each of the 2 matches since I didn't get him. He's at 4.6 now. Really good fixtures coming up, so that may be not holding. We'll see how this week goes. I do want to bring in one more premium, but I just think a couple of game weeks, maybe I'll have a think about it. See how this game week goes. Nothing is certain in football, but seriously thinking one transfer and then just let another one roll. So that come out the international break with just a couple of transfers just to cover for injuries. But that bench does make me happy. I've got Konza. He might turn him into H. Nori, then let the next week roll. Then I've got H. Nori and João Pedro on the bench, rotating in with the likes of Gabriel, and Lewis. Got a really wickedly strong midfield there, and really nice rotating forward options for picking the best fixtures. So where would this team have gone if this team had been fielded over the last 5 weeks, as it is now with all the hits and the various things? Well, I'd have done a lot better than I have done, that's for sure. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. This is not 100% accurate because I generally work off the last 5 game weeks played, unless there's too big a distance, and some of them did have blanks for rotation or an injury. But in generally speaking, this team would have scored at the lowest end, and this is without captaincy, over the last 5 weeks, 54 points, 54, 54, 59, 73, 76, and 88 as a combined 11. That's the team that's actually out there. Without captaincy, I'd obviously take that any day of the week. These, I don't think it's going to come close to the 88. I'm certainly hope it doesn't go as low as the 54. But I have to take into account here that the majority of these players that I'm fielding are on away fixtures. Now, some of the fixtures are okay. Some of it's not the greatest fixture list. It's a fantastic looking team. I really like it. But Palmer away to Man United, it's fixture proof. He could get a couple of well, I hope he doesn't because I'm a Man United fan. But with Ten Hag is obviously gone. Could get the new manager bounce, even though it's just the interim manager, Van Nistelrooy. We'll see. And Wemo was Fulham away, not an easy place to go to. Cunha, Crystal Palace at home, that's not too bad. Johnson, Aston Villa at home, could be okay. So my prediction, I mean, my numbers say 71, excluding captaincy. That feels a little unrealistic to me. If I hit that and I had a decent captaincy out of, it's going to be Salah. I'm pretty sure I'm going to stay on Salah for captaincy. That would help really start to get things back on track. 71 feels very optimistic. I'll absolutely take it. But seriously, just at the moment, just to steady the ship, I think it's going to be more like around 60, realistically, with all those away fixtures. But just takes 1 or 2 good hauls, and it's amazing how the landscape can transform. So I'm going to leave it at that. A little bit waffly. Just wanted to make sure, just give this an update so we keep the record going, how we're going. So is it going well? No, it's been an absolute disaster the last few weeks, apart from last week when I took the hit, and we got it back on track with a nice 81, which helped pay for the hits. I think that's probably it. Just as I say, some thoughts going forward. Some players I certainly do have my eye on. It's just whether I do it before the international break or after. United do have a nice fixture turn, and they've got 2 really good home fixtures. So one of the things I'm thinking about, and his numbers are actually not too bad, is Man United midfielder. Is definitely got to be under consideration. Would you bring in a Fournette? Because I've got Leicester and Southampton after this game week. Something two of the relegation teams. Ipswich, Leicester and Ipswich. Got to be worth a thought, particularly the way United played against Leicester in the Carabao Cup. I know it's just the Carabao Cup and it's meaningless, but they look like players that have suddenly been set free and were able to finally start hitting the target and knocking the goals. So certainly worth some thought there around maybe United striker and midfielder for those 2. As I say, H-Noy is absolutely on my shopping list. I think I will bring him in, to be honest with you, and it gives me that bench depth again, and some really great rotation options. I could use that if I did take Lewis out or a Gabriel, then that would give me enough to get to Trent, who I really do want as well. So those are some thoughts on some of the ideas going forward. But as I say, that's the team. Looks good. Deadline will be, I don't know, is it about 10 hours away? There won't be any changes to this at this point. We're on an 8-point hit, which goes against my rules, but I think I think so. I've justified this to myself. It's certainly going to be the last hit I take for a while, certainly with this team. We're just going to let this roll, and it'll be just minor tweaks going forward the next few weeks, because this one has to roll, and hopefully we can hit some big numbers with it. On that note, that's it. I have jet lag, so I'm probably going to go and have a little sleep now. In the meantime, let's have fun, play your own game, and above else, don't do what I've done this week. Don't panic.